Cycling, as a means of transportation, is growing in popularity in cities all over the world, with good results and bad. But what if cyclists didn't need to share the road at all? What would happen if all commuters ditched their cars and replaced them with bikes? How would it affect infrastructure? How much healthier would you be? And could this save the world? This is What If, and here's what would happen if everyone biked to work. It's no secret that cars burn a lot of fuel and are horrible for the environment and, well, you get the idea. But have you ever thought about just how much space they take up? Here's what 30 cars on a street look like. Quite a lot, huh? Take a look at what 30 cyclists look like in the same spot. Notice the difference? Let me state the obvious. Fewer cars on the road means cleaner air. Around the world, there are over 1 billion cars in use. 276 million of those cars are in the United States. The majority are passenger vehicles, and then there are several million motorcycles, trucks, and buses on the road. These vehicles account for 30% of the greenhouse gases in the United States. We'll need to keep the trucks for transporting things like food, and we'd keep the buses too so that people who aren't able to bike can still get to work. We'd want buses for long distance travel too. Now take away almost 200 million cars, including your Hondas, Jeeps, and yes, even Ferraris. They've all got to go. A typical passenger vehicle emits about 4.6 metric tons of carbon dioxide every year. Taking them off the road would significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions as well as smog. Take a look at the city of Copenhagen. It has some of the cleanest air in the world, and it's no coincidence that they have more bikes than cars in their city. Over 40% of people in Copenhagen bike to work, while over 80% of the United States drive. Although you can fit more people in a car than you can on a bike, people rarely take advantage of this while commuting. Roughly 70% of car commuters drive alone. Compare that to a single person biking. The space that each of them takes up speaks for itself. And think of all the money you'll save. In 2018, people spent about $2,500 during the year on gas. Not to mention a car you won't have to buy every decade or so, saving you more than $10,000. Now, that'll be extra cha-ching in your pocket. Cha-ching. With no cars on the road, hundreds, even thousands more people could ride freely through the streets, reducing traffic congestion and gridlock in major cities. And think how much safer it would be with barely any motor vehicles on the road. But don't worry, with thousands of bikes on the road, it won't be like a Tour de France free-for-all. We'd build super bike highways, and we'd have traffic lights for bikes. And just like the bike traffic lights in Copenhagen, these lights will be synced to the average speed of cycling in the area so that once you hit your stride, you won't have to stop. No matter how the roads are planned, it's almost guaranteed that they'll be safer than driving. According to the World Health Organization, over 1.35 million people die each year due to crashes on the road. Think of how much safer we'll all be. What about people who can't bike or are too far away from their work? Well, that's where public transportation comes in. Even with the increased amount of buses on the streets, it still won't compare to the amount of space and emissions that cars take up now. When you break down the numbers, a bus carries an average of 40 to 60 people while commuting, and a car only carries one. To carry the same amount of people a bus carries, there would need to be 40 cars on the road, taking up more space and using more fuel than just a single bus. And for all the people who can bike, think how buff your quads will get. You don't get that from driving. Another thing you don't get? A ton of burned calories. On average, an hour driving will burn 120 calories, compared to 480 calories that you'll burn after an hour of biking. I guess you can kiss your gym membership goodbye. Not only that, but you'll also live longer. A 2015 study showed that communities who bike to work as opposed to those who drive decreased their early mortality rate by 40%. Despite all these benefits, there may be some downsides. Will everyone want a bike in the winter? What about getting injured? And what are the environmental effects of people taking more showers after biking all day? Well, that sounds like a question for another What If.